Hello everyone. If you like what I'm doing here, please consider subscribing, liking, and commenting. It would really help the channel out quite a bit. Thank you very much.
The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Wickedness, said Ben Jonson, is always easier than virtue, for it takes the shortcut to everything. But that's only one kind of wickedness, the quick, open, obvious wickedness, like snatching a purse. There's another kind of wickedness, the slow, scheming, devious wickedness that silently coils on itself like some gigantic serpent and waits with infinite patience for exactly the right moment to strike.
You wouldn't commit murder.
Why not?
Because you and I are friends.
Oh, I like you, Mr. Markowitz. I like you a lot. But business is business.
But you're asking me to commit a crime.
No. I'm only asking you the following question. Would you rather be dead and poor or alive and rich?
Our mystery drama, The High Priest, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Sam Dan and stars Robert Dryden. It is sponsored in part by True Value Hardware Stores and Buick Motor Division. I'll be back shortly with Act One.
If you'd really like a big car, but you really think you ought to buy a small car, maybe what you ought to buy is a mid-size car. To be specific, a Buick Century Custom. The Century Custom, you see, offers a lot of the room and comfort you look for in a big car. And the trim size and the V6 engine give you a lot of the benefits of a small car. But the Century Custom has one more thing going for it. It's a Buick. And no matter what size car you're looking for, you just can't do much better than that.
Right now, Goodyear is cutting the deck and dealing. It's your chance to get really good low prices on Goodyear custom Power Cushion Polyglass tires. Here's the deal. Get 2 custom Power Cushion Polyglass tires for $59 size A7813 and $1.73 federal excise tax per tire and old tires. Goodyear low prices on larger sizes, too, at Goodyear stores and participating dealers. Come on in. Goodyear. It's the only game in town.
I came to Midas to get Midasized and got the shock of my life. The right shock for my car, absolutely free.
It's our special offer, good at Midas dealers until April 30th. When you buy 3 of our LifeGuard or SuperGuard or SpringGuard shocks, we give you the 4th shock absolutely free. They'll be the right shocks for the way you drive, and they'll be guaranteed as long as you own your car. So once you Midasize, you'll never have to buy shocks for that car again. If you think you need new shocks, now's the time to Midasize and get the shock of your life. 4 Midas shocks for the price of 3. Offer good until April 30th at participating dealers. Come to Midas for a free inspection.
The next time you feel that sway, don't compromise. Midasize.
Wherever you live or work in Greater Chicago, you're just minutes away from one of the 42 conveniently located Midas shops. When your car, foreign or domestic, needs servicing, check the white pages for the shop nearest you.
Today, we're to make the acquaintance of a Mr. Bennett Markowitz, a venerable gentleman, well in his 70s. Mr. Markowitz is very tall, very thin, with long white hair, a flowing white beard, and piercing black eyes. He looks for all the world like a prophet out of the Old Testament. However, he is actually an authority on art, specifically the paintings of Rembrandt. Bennett Markowitz is more than just an authority. Somehow, somewhere within him seems to be the spirit of Rembrandt. As you know, Rembrandt painted many biblical characters, and so many of his models were the humble Jewish people of the Amsterdam ghetto. But enough. If you wanted a lecture on art, you would have gone to a museum. You tune us in for murder. And do we ever disappoint you?
At 4:30 on Friday afternoon, November 18th this year, Mr. Martin J. Hollenbeck rang the bell of the premises of 598 East 54th Street.
Mr. Hollenbeck.
Well, it's 4:30, Miss O'Neill, and here I am right on the button, primed and ready for the verdict.
Well, won't you have a chair?
Thank you. Yes, there is the painting set up on the easel. Aaron, High Priest of Israel. Oh, how those eyes seem to bore into your very soul.
Oh, Mr. Hollenbeck is here, Mr. Markowitz.
No one could do eyes like Rembrandt. You know, I get chills just looking at that painting. Has Mr. Markowitz arrived at his decision?
I believe he has.
Oh, and what do you suppose it is?
That's for Mr. Markowitz to say.
Mr. Hollenbeck.
Good day, Mr. Markowitz.
Good of you to come.
Mr. Markowitz, I must know immediately, for better or for worse, the painting.
Oh, yes, the painting. The painting you have brought to me, which purports to be Aaron, High Priest of Israel, by Rembrandt von Rijn.
Purports to be?
The painting is a fake.
Oh, no, sir.
The most unique fake I have ever seen.
But Mr. Markowitz...
It is the work of a genius, but it is not a work of Rembrandt.
But the style, the shadows, the light, and the paint and the canvas, authenticated by carbon tested to be over 350 years old.
No, these things can be faked if one is clever enough. Who is the artist, Mr. Hollenbeck?
Oh, what do you mean, who is the artist? He's Rembrandt.
No, there are so many things out of joint in this painting, Mr. Hollenbeck. We shall start with the trivial and proceed to the serious. The breastplate ornament of the high priest. It should have 12 precious stones to represent the 12 tribes of Israel. There are only 10. Rembrandt was a serious scholar.
Well, 2 of the tribes were lost.
Not when Aaron was the high priest. Now, the face on the left, it's Ephraim Bonus, who was also painted by Rembrandt.
Yes, but it's a known fact that Rembrandt used actual people in the Amsterdam ghetto as his models.
Not Mr. Bonus, who was a wealthy merchant. It's as if this artist devoured a host of details from scores of Rembrandt paintings and set them down. However, I might still accept it as a Rembrandt, were it not for one thing.
Oh, yes?
A painting is more than form and line and color arranged on canvas. A painting that lives has something above and beyond all that. It has the breath of life, the spirit that the artist has breathed into it.
But surely there's spirit in this painting?
Yes, of course. But it is not the spirit of Rembrandt. The spirit which animates each artist's work is so uniquely his own. You see the things I have in this room? It was not necessary for Franz Hals to sign that portrait. We know, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that this dish was created by Cellini. On another level, this beautifully embossed matched set of pistols embodies the spirit of Hans Rasmussen.
Mr. Markowitz, it's almost sundown.
Huh? Oh, yeah, but thank you. Mr. Hollenbeck, I fear I can only reiterate my statement. This painting is not the work of Rembrandt.
Well, perhaps, but...
I'm also sorry that I must terminate our discussion. The Sabbath is about to begin, and it is not permitted to do or even to talk about business.
The Sabbath?
I'm an Orthodox Jew. I fear we have nothing more to talk about.
Monday evening, at about 10 p.m., Mr. Martin Hollenbeck was sitting in Mary Mallow's piano bar on 3rd Avenue, near 64th, where he encountered a man named George Curly Peterson.
Hello there, Holly.
Oh, do I know you?
You look at this bald head and you don't remember me.
Why, it's Curly. Curly Peterson.
Hey, that's right, Curly. Number 325-289, and you were number 325-276 when we were guests of the state. I never forget a number.
What are you doing there, Curly?
Oh, this and that. You?
Me? I thought I was sitting on top of $1 million.
A mill, huh?
Now I have a painting.
Could a painting be worth all that dough?
Oh, if it's by Rembrandt.
Is it by Rembrandt?
It could be, but...
Yeah, here comes Mr. Buck.
Yeah, I'm going to lose out.
Well, maybe you had no business in the fine arts dodge anyhow.
Why not? I prepared myself.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I took courses. I went to adult education classes. I studied speech, diction, so I wouldn't sound like some illiterate mug. And art appreciation. Go ahead, ask me any question on the Renaissance.
I wouldn't know where to begin.
Well, I picked up all the basics, believe me, the patter, and, well, beyond that, it's every man for himself.
Yeah, sounds to me like you're set to pitch a no-hitter.
No, I'm going to be knocked out of the box.
Deal me in. I'll make it work.
Ah, Curly, nobody can make it work.
Come on, fill me in. Go back to ground zero.
Ground zero. Okay, we have to start with a nut.
Who's the nut?
Oh, that's what I asked Gracie Petrosky one night. We're sitting around her apartment.
Who's the nut? Holly, look at this $10 bill.
What about it?
Real?
Oh, yeah.
You sure?
Let me really look.
And?
Yeah, it's on the level.
It's queer.
What? Hey, this is quality. Who's got him? It's a fortune. How much is there?
This 110 spot is all there is.
Oh, no.
The last of the Mohicans. The plate was engraved for a friend of mine. But before he could get into production, the feds were tipped. They bagged him and destroyed the plate.
You know, that plate was a work of art.
I know the guy that designed the plate.
Who is he?
The nut from Bakerville.
Who?
He's a nut and he lives in Bakerville, Iowa.
Well, would he make another plate?
We could go there and ask.
Have you got his address?
Address? It's a broken-down farm in the middle of no place.
No, Mr. Hollenbeck. I am not engaged in engraving at this time.
But your plates could make us a fortune.
Money holds no interest for me. You see, I'm a nihilist.
A what?
Nihilism. The word was coined by Turgenev.
Oh, yeah, but I would like to make
Nihilism is a desire to overthrow not just the government, but all organized forms of society. And I am intent on destroying art.
Well, yes, sure, but...
The art establishment, the tyrannical, dictatorial art establishment. This self-appointed elite that strangles all creativity.
Look, just let me explain to you how we could go...
Expose them, lay bare their obscene corruption, you see. Now, look here. See what I have just finished.
Yeah, what have you just finished?
This canvas. It's a masterwork. This is a Rembrandt.
Rembrandt? Where would you get a Rembrandt?
Well, you fool, I painted it.
Well, if you painted it, then it can't be
I shall convince the establishment that it is. It is. I am the greatest painter who ever lived.
Okay, if you're that great, why don't you sell your own?
Oh, there's a lot against me, a conspiracy. My life is in danger.
Oh, yeah, yes. Is that a fact?
Oh, they all hate me, hate and fear me, all the other so-called artists. Because my work puts theirs to shame. Well, I can paint in any style. Rembrandt, Titian, El Greco, Michelangelo.
Then there's a fortune.
Oh, fortune. That's the only word you know. I'll bring this painting, this Rembrandt that I have titled Aaron, High Priest of Israel, to the attention of the art world, and it will be hailed as a genuine Rembrandt.
You sure of that?
Oh, it has to be. Look.
Well,
I will be offered millions for it. And then, when they have committed themselves, these thieving parasites, I shall laugh in their faces.
Yeah, but why not just take the money and have a quiet laugh?
No, money is evil.
And that's the painting you're trying to fob off?
That's the painting.
Well, how'd you get rid of the nut?
Oh, he died.
I didn't know you were a muscle guy, Holly.
Oh, no. It was an accident.
Uh-huh. Then what happened?
Well, then, Curly, I did all the things I told you about. Going to school so I could fit in with the art crowd, and let me tell you, the nut was right about most of them.
Well, how'd you explain the way you found this painting?
Oh, I made a deal with some dame who lived in Leiden.
Leiden?
Yeah, that's in Holland.
Oh.
She was to claim she found it in her attic. And then I just happened to come along. And how would she know it was a genuine Rembrandt? So she sold it to me for $2,000.
Well, where do we stand right now?
Oh, you got a lot of experts in Europe, and they all say, well, yes, perhaps, yeah, maybe, it could be. But before they'll jump, they're waiting for one man.
Who?
A certain Mr. Bennett Markowitz.
Well, okay. When do we go up against Mr. Markowitz?
Oh, I've already been there.
And?
He said no, which means the ball game's over.
What? Just because one solitary guy says no?
He's the expert.
You mean you just went in to see him cold?
What else could I do?
You didn't offer him a piece?
Curly, the man is not on the take.
How do you know?
Well, because he has an international reputation for integrity.
Every living human being has his price.
Well, he's different.
Including your man Markowitz. Let's find out his price.
Does every man have his price? In the end, can it be said that people may be bought and sold, just like any other commodity? Or can it be said of certain human beings that they are incorruptible? I don't know. I just pose the question. Maybe we get the answer in Act 2.
Would you like an all-expense-paid vacation to Disneyland in California? I'm Hyman Brown, producer-director of the General Mills Radio Adventure Theater, with news of a wonderful contest. If you are one of our winners, you and 3 family members or friends will fly first class, stay at the Anaheim Hyatt House just across from Disneyland, get all meals free, plus passes to all attractions, including a rocket sled journey on Space Mountain, opening soon. It's adventure and excitement that can only happen at Disneyland. We'll select another winner this week in the second of our 4 weekly random drawings. We also have 400 Mickey Mouse watches for runners-up. No purchase necessary, but contests void where prohibited by law. Get details on how to enter on General Mills Radio Adventure Theater this Saturday and Sunday on the station you're listening to right now.
When you save at Northwest Federal, they have lots of ways to thank you. There's a Fun with Plants program from plant specialist Ginny Beatty, where you get lots of free plant idea pages. There's a special club that encourages kids to save, and a club for senior savers as well. And if you save $250 or more at any Northwest Federal Savings Center, now through April the 18th, you can choose a gift free or for a special low price. Gifts to let you know that spring is on the way, like a True Temper lawn rake, a Burgess fluidic sprinkler to help shape up your lawn, a Structo barbecue grill for cookouts, or an Alumilite folding table for all those picnics you're planning. They have lots of other gifts and many more ways to thank you. And when you visit your nearby Northwest Federal Savings Center, pick up a free thanks button in one of many different languages. It's just another thanks you can take with you.
It's Northwest Federal Savings Time, 63 hours a week.
Well, now, we were talking about buying and selling, and the product involved is honor. Yes, a man's honor. Would you bet your life on the absolute integrity of any human being? If you would, There are cynical people who'd say that you love to live dangerously.
It was at the aforementioned Marion Mallow's piano bar that Martin Hollenbeck and Curly Peterson proceeded to create the scheme to be employed against Mr. Markowitz. Curly, I tell you, Mr. Markowitz is not on the take.
How do you know? Did you ask him?
Ask him?
Well, it's the only way to find out.
Curly, you don't know how far off base you are.
There's only one way to find out.
I do not wish to seem inhospitable, Mr. Hollenbeck, but I did say my final word on the subject last week.
Well, you may have said yours, sir, but I haven't said mine.
Oh?
Now consider one single word from you. That small but unbelievably powerful word, yes. And Aaron, High Priest of Israel, will be accepted as a genuine Rembrandt.
Oh, you overestimate my influence.
One word from you, sir, and a painted canvas worth perhaps several $100s as a curiosity becomes valued at several million as a masterpiece. Who is to say that the age of miracles has passed?
Life itself is a miracle.
Yes, indeed. And may I propose an arrangement?
You want to bribe me?
Oh, I offer you $500,000.
For what?
For that one word, yes. Yes, that's the word.
That's not the word.
What do you mean?
Well, how can I put this? I believe in God, Mr. Hollenbeck.
Well, don't we all?
And in the covenant each of us makes with him. If we keep this covenant, we are rewarded, not only in the next world, but in this world as well. Do you know what that reward is?
Well, actually, no, but...
There's so many ways to explain it, describe it, but for me, it's all contained in one word. And that word is peace. And that's the word you want me to sell. How much is that word worth?
I told you Curly is not for sale.
Okay. What else do we know about him?
What else?
I'm looking for a way to get at this guy.
Get at him? How?
Well, who else was there?
Well, the secretary.
What's her name?
Miss O'Neill.
Miss. I mean, she's not married. What does she look like?
I don't know.
You were there. You saw the dame. What do you mean you don't know?
Well, since she's not the kind I'd want to make a pass at, I didn't really notice.
So, she's not the kind guys want to make a pass at. Well, we may have something. How old?
Well, she could be, 40.
Miss O'Neill, eh? I wonder what I could get out of Miss O'Neill.
Nobody could get a word out of Miss O'Neill.
Well, that would depend on the kind of words you're after.
At noontime, Monday, November 28th, George Curly Peterson rang the bell of the Markowitz establishment and thus became an active participant in the conspiracy.
Yes?
Oh, how do you do? I'm working my way through college.
I'll bet you are.
You'd lose. I'm really trying to raise money to take a girl out tonight.
Well, that's better.
I'm selling these vacuum cleaners.
We have a vacuum cleaner.
Oh, you shouldn't have said that. You should have let me in and had your rugs cleaned free of charge.
Oh, I don't believe in leading gentlemen on.
Oh, but I'm no gentleman.
Huh? What are you?
A seducer.
Is that a fact?
Of girls who are young, innocent, and pretty.
Oh, well, I'm safe. None of those adjectives describe me.
No, you're an even greater danger since you are mature, wise, and beautiful.
Oh, but I'm in no danger at all since, with your kind permission, I intend to close the door.
Oh, one question first.
Yes?
Will you have dinner with me this evening?
No.
The place is Houlihan's. The Irish stew is legendary. Now say no.
No.
I forgot to tell you the address.
The answer is still no.
9th near 23rd, in case you should change your mind.
This is magnificent. I expected a little neighborhood bar deep in sawdust.
Well, let's order the most expensive dishes, the best wine.
Do you wonder why I'm here?
I swept you off your feet.
It's no great accomplishment. Almost anyone could do it.
Well, then that's no compliment to either of us.
Oh, I wasn't brought up on compliments. I was raised on the truth.
The truth.
I kept house for my father. With us, the unmarried daughter had to stay home with the old folks.
Yeah, which was a way to make sure she'd never marry.
Well, my father was Sean Patrick O'Neill, the poet. Poet and philosopher. He died 10 years ago, so... Well, I went to work for his good friend, Bennett Markowitz. From one saint to another. Oh, indeed, I've breathed rarefied air all my life. What did you say your name was?
Curly.
Curly. But there are moments, not many, but some, and not all the time, but occasionally when I want to breathe this kind of air.
Well, go ahead and breathe it.
And this noontime you caught me at just such a moment.
Well, let's drink to that moment. And many others.
I'm very happy for you, Maggie.
Oh, isn't he wonderful? He knows nothing at all of poetry or painting or philosophy.
Well, I can learn.
You do, and you'll have seen the last of me.
Well, maybe it's too late.
It's never too late to learn some of the greatest philosophy in the world.
And now, Bennett, you're going to get started and spoil it for us.
It's also the shortest philosophy.
How short?
One of the great sages was once challenged to recite the wisdom of the Talmud while standing on one foot.
Oh, such a challenge would be more fitting for an acrobat.
Well, he did it. He said it all comes down to this. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
You mean that's all there is to philosophy?
That's the kernel. Everything else forms the shell.
Oh, excuse me. Hello? Yes? Who? Oh, are you sure? Well, yes, I suppose it must be true. No, I'll tell her myself. Thank you.
I would assume that we have received bad news, my dear.
Oh, Mr. Markowitz, this is awful. I don't know what to say. That was Mr. McHugh from the island.
Oh, I hope there's nothing wrong with his cottage.
Everything's wrong. It burned down.
Oh.
Something about the electrical circuits.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh, is that all you can say? Mr. Markowitz spends a week alone at McHugh's seashore cottage every year.
Oh, in December?
It's a time for solitude and communion with the sea and the sky. Well, does Mr. McHugh have another accommodation?
Nothing with heat, or as he puts it, winterized. Oh, Mr. Markowitz, I know how disappointed you must be.
It is said man appoints, God disappoints, and for his own purpose. Perhaps it was ordained that I should not spend my week at the shore this year.
Oh, I know you're putting on a good face.
Would you mind if I say something? You talk about something being ordained. Well, maybe it was ordained that I should meet Maggie for a lot of reasons. And one of them is that I would be here when you got that phone call.
Now, what are you saying, Colonel?
Well, don't you see? Mr. Markowitz, I could be talking out of turn, but would you maybe consider spending a week out at my place?
Your place?
I have this cottage on the South Shore, right on the beach.
Oh, well, I couldn't impose.
It's just what you want. It belonged to my folks, and they died. But I never used it. There's just an old fellow up there, old Frank. He takes care of the place. It just goes to waste. Is there any reason why you shouldn't go?
You want me to rent a beach cottage out on the South Shore? Why?
Because Mr. Markowitz is going to spend a week by himself communing at the shore. He will return home, and he's going to invite some critics and other highbrows to his place, where he will make the following announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been haunted. Is that a good word to use?
Curly, I don't know what you're driving at.
I have been haunted by a painting called Aaron, High Priest of Israel. I am convinced, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it is a genuine Rembrandt.
He's going to say that?
I guarantee it.
But how?
That's the plan.
What plan?
What plan indeed? We have seen that bribery is futile. Muscle? We'd be inclined to doubt its effectiveness in this type of situation. And yet, Curly, who is apparently an extremely resourceful gentleman, seems supremely competent. What is the plan? Well, you know perfectly well you'll have to wait for Act 3.
You've never had a really exotic car, have you? Because you've always felt that you needed something a little more down to earth. But you still want that exotic car, don't you? You know what you need? A Buick Skyhawk. It's small, it's V6 powered. Hey, it's even got a hatchback. Now that's down to earth. But with things like bucket seats, available 5-speed manual transmission, and that laid-back, low-down styling, it's not exactly plain vanilla. The Buick Skyhawk, the car you need and the car you want.
I want that sinus medicine.
Headache tablet?
No, it relieves headache and congestion, internal sinus pressure, and postnasal drip. And it has added strength.
You mean added strength sign-off?
Exactly.
Added strength sign-off tablets give you pure aspirin plus 50% more sinus drainer.
To help sinus pain while you drain.
Right, and more sinus dryer for postnasal drip.
Added strength sign-off.
The sinus medicine in the bright red box. Take when needed, only as directed.
SINDOFF. Sign-off.
WBBM Chicago. True Value Hardware Stores would like to help you with your next hold-up. That is, the next time you need to hold up objects for repair. They offer the Fuller 3.5-inch homeowner's vise that holds up objects safely and securely so you can work on them. Its strong steel screw holds the jaws securely to keep objects from slipping. The swivel base lets you choose the best angle for the job. The Fuller 3.5-inch homeowner's vise is just $8.88. True Value Hardware Stores also offer the Master Mechanic Toolbox for just $6.50. It's 19 inches long, so you have room for tools and small parts, and the removable tray has a handy socket divider. The Fuller Homeowner's Vise and the Master Mechanic Toolbox. You will find them at participating True Value Hardware stores.
True Value Hardware, it's more than just a name. It's a way of doing business that means True Value.
He harms himself who does harm to another, and the evil plan is most harmful to the planner. Perhaps. Another way to put it is, you can't get away with murder. But unfortunately, there are those who obviously do. Up for our consideration is a plan, certainly an evil one, being concocted by Curly Peterson and Martin Hollenbeck. All of it is a part of a record, a police record.
On December 15th, the perpetrators, Hollenbeck and Peterson, met in Peterson's apartment to plan the next stage of the plot against Bennett Markowitz. Here, for the first time, we meet the third member of the group, Mr. Frank Leroy.
You mean Markowitz is going to come back from the shore and say the painting is a Rembrandt?
Absolutely.
Well, you've got to show me how.
Sit still for a moment. Won't you come in, sir?
Why, it's Mr. Markowitz. Sir,
See? It works.
I don't understand.
Suppose I said, I know a guy who could be the spitting image of Bennett Markowitz. You'd say, it's impossible, it won't work. But you see, I spring him on you and you just naturally accept it.
You mean this isn't...
Suppose I said to you, remember a pen pal of ours who used to be an old-time matinee star and was doing 30 years for killing his wife?
No, wait a minute, Scotty.
Suppose I said to you, we could get Frank Leroy to impersonate Bennett Markowitz.
You mean this is Frankie the actor?
If I said that to you, you would say to me, never, no way, it couldn't work. What do you say now?
I can't believe it. You're Frankie.
Nothing to it, Holly. Point the nose a bit, build out the chin, some slight shadow under the eyes. And I'm Markowitz.
Yeah. Only, that's not Markowitz's voice.
Nah, I can get his voice.
He'll spend a week with Markowitz in the cottage as Frank the handyman. Give us a little apple knocker there, Frank.
Can I offer you a cup of tea, Mr. Markowitz, with just a touch of Jack?
He'll study every move, every gesture. He will actually become Bennett Markowitz.
Sure. It sounds good, but...
But what?
Well, I don't know. A great many people know Markowitz. I mean, Frankie can't be prepared for everything, for everybody.
Oh, that's where you're wrong. Practically nobody knows Markowitz. He's, what's a guy who stays by himself? A recluse.
Yeah, but the girl, Maggie, can he fool her?
Well, he can. For 5 minutes.
What do you mean, 5 minutes?
Well, that's as long as the show lasts. 5 minutes, that's all we need.
I don't understand.
All right, step by step. Markowitz leaves for the seashore. A week later, Frankie returns to town as Markowitz.
Well, where's Markowitz?
He's still at the shore.
Doing what?
Looking down the barrel of a gun you're holding on him.
Oh, well...
No, just stay with me. I call Maggie. I say Markowitz asked me to drive him back to town. He wants to call a press conference. She's to invite the critics, reporters, experts, whoever.
Yeah, but I still don't follow...
I show up with Frankie, the actor, who plays Markowitz. I think he's good enough to fool even her for a while. But the insurance is, I keep away from her all week. She misses me terribly. That's what it all rests on. She misses me so bad, she only has eyes for me. She doesn't really care about Markowitz when we walk in.
Oh, come on, Curly. What are you talking about?
I find it hard to accept. Hard to accept that she can't wait to be alone with me. Oh. So, Frankie here as Markowitz makes the announcement, and he's very tired, wants to retire, wants to go back to the seashore and commune some more with wild and savage nature. He exits, and he's never seen alive again.
What do you mean?
Well, a couple days later, Frank the handyman is in a state. He warned old Bennett Markowitz to keep away from the boat, even though the sea may look calm. Sudden squalls spring up. Well, boat is found, drifting, empty. And later on, poor Mr. Markowitz's body is found washed up on the shore.
Yeah. We have to kill him.
If he lives, he'll blow the whistle.
Such a nice old guy.
Yeah, how much longer could he last anyhow?
On December 19, Martin Hollenbeck rented a cottage from Gaia Realty in Closet, Suffolk County, Long Island.
Well, what do you think?
It's magnificent.
I knew you'd like it.
The sea, the sky, the sun, the air. How clear, how clean. Oh, this beauty. This is what God gives us. And to what purpose do we defile it?
And the house. Wait till you see the inside. Ah, I see Frank has a fire going. Good. I'll call him. Frankie?
What a charming place. This is the gentleman who's going to be staying?
Mr. Markowitz, this is Frank.
How do you do, Frank? May I offer you both a cup of tea with just a touch of Jack?
Frank, let your conscience be your guide.
Late that afternoon, Caddy Peterson returned to the city. 4 days later, he came back to the cottage to check out the progress of the plan.
Mr. Markowitz, Are you home?
Be with you in a moment, Curly. How do you like me as Markowitz?
Frank. Then it was you who just answered me?
Yes. I cannot tell a lie. It was I.
Where is Markowitz?
Out somewhere, communing with nature. He's having a great time.
Yeah, but when you said, be with you in a moment, Curly, Frank, I could have bet my life.
What can I say? I'm the old master.
You got him. Perfectly.
If only you knew how perfectly. He's got that slight upward inflection. He speaks in balanced phrases. Sometimes as if he's had a conversation with himself. He asks questions and answers them. What is art? The imagination of God. We pursue it in vain. It eludes us always.
That's him. Frank, I look, I listen, I get chills.
That's the secret of acting.
Art, acting, philosophy. What's a mug like me doing on such an intellectual caper?
Cayley, you're the brains.
On December 29, Martin Hollenbeck and Curly Peterson drove out to the cottage. They were convinced they were now fully prepared to place the final stage of the plan in operation.
Hello, Curly. This is an unexpected surprise. I see you brought a guest.
I believe you know Martin Hollenbeck?
Well, we meet again, Mr. Markowitz.
Martin Hollenbeck? What are you doing here?
You'll need a companion for the next few days.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Maybe you never will. Frank, come in here. Now, Mr. Markowitz, do us the kindness to remain seated. The chair is comfortable.
Well, Frank.
Who is he?
Well, you can see. He's your alter ego.
You from tip to toe, Mr. Markowitz.
I see.
Oh, now, Mr. Markowitz, you haven't seen anything yet. Well, here's where we find out. This is it. Pick up the phone and dial the number, Frank. Just remember what you have to say.
I never forgot a line in my life.
Hello?
Maggie?
How are you, Mr. Markowitz?
Oh, fine, my dear. Maggie, I've been thinking. Perhaps it was the sky, the colors of the clouds, the tones of the sea. Suddenly, I realized a great truth in a magnificent burst of insight.
What was it?
I know now that Aaron, high priest of Israel, was painted by Rembrandt.
Oh, well, are you sure?
My dear, this is not mere knowing. This is the feeling that resides in the heart. The painting is real.
Oh, that's wonderful. Another Rembrandt.
I shall return tomorrow. Call the newspapers, the magazines, and so forth. I will hold a press conference at the house at 2 in the afternoon.
A press conference at 2?
Curly has kindly consented to drive me into town.
Then I shall get to see Curly tomorrow.
Of course.
Well, until tomorrow, Mr. Markowitz.
Until tomorrow. Do you think you can get away with this monstrous charade?
Look at Frank. Listen to Frank. Do you know any way we can miss?
Maggie knows me too well. She'll look at him and see something wrong.
Maybe, but she's not going to be looking at him. She's going to be looking at me.
At 1:45 on the 28th, Frank Leroy, perfectly disguised as Bennett Markowitz, accompanied by Curly Peterson, drove up to the Markowitz house.
My dear, have you notified the press?
Yes, Mr. Markowitz. They'll be here. Oh, Curly.
How have you been, baby?
Oh, lonesome.
Maggie, my dear, do you suppose I might have a small glass of wine?
Oh, of course. I'll be right back.
Well,
Fantastic. She bought you.
is there ever any doubt?
Oh, this crazy scheme is going to work. We'll be worth millions.
And so, therefore, ladies and gentlemen of the press, there is no doubt in my mind that Aaron, High Priest of Israel, is an authentic Rembrandt.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will excuse Mr. Markowitz for the present, I'm sure you understand.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's all right. Here.
Curly,
What is it? What's the matter? Something wrong?
No, I don't think so. It's just...
Just what?
Is, something bothering you, my dear?
No.
You sure you're okay?
Well, yeah, I'm okay now.
Great. For a minute you had me worried.
Mr. Markowitz, while you were gone, a man called about those Rasmussen pistols.
Yes?
He wanted to know if they were in working order.
And, what did you tell him?
Oh, that they worked perfectly, and I even put cartridges in them. Oh, they work. Look at the ceiling.
Maggie, what the...
Now that you know these pistols are loaded, raise your hands.
Oh, Maggie, have you taken leave of
Keep your mouth shut and your hands up while I call the police.
At 2:35 p.m., a patrol car responded to a call for help from Miss Maggie O'Neill, who was holding the perpetrators at the point of a pistol. Suffolk County Police were notified. Mr. Bennett Markowitz was released, and the perpetrator, Holland Beck, taken into custody. I asked Miss Maggie O'Neill, how did you know Frank Leroy was not Bennett Markowitz?
Well, at first, I didn't. But suddenly something bothered me, and it kept bothering me. I didn't know why. He looked exactly like Mr. Markowitz. His voice, his mannerisms, everything was Mr. Markowitz. Still, something bothered me. What? And then I remembered. When I opened the door to the street to let him in, he entered the house without pausing to touch the mezuzah.
The what?
The mezuzah. It's a tiny metal plaque fixed to the doorpost of every Orthodox Jewish house. Now, inside it is a parchment inscribed with a text from Deuteronomy and the sacred name of the Lord.
And, he didn't touch it?
Well, it is the custom to bestow a kiss upon it when entering or leaving the house. The fingers brush the lips and then lightly and lovingly touch the mezuzah. A man who did not do that could not be Bennett Markowitz.
And so it is with every counterfeit. No matter how careful and competent the forger, he must make his mistake. Because all he can hope to capture is the substance. It's the shadow, the all-important shadow that always must elude him. I shall return shortly.
Let Better Homes and Garden magazine give you a better-looking lawn and garden this spring. Just look in their April issue for the True Value Hardware Store's two-page lawn and garden ad. Hi, Pat Summerall to tell you about a few of the lawn groomers and garden growers in the four-color insert. Choose a lawn groomer like the Lawn Sheep 7-horsepower riding mower. It has 3 forward speeds plus reverse, cuts a 25-inch path, and has an automotive-type differential. Or cut an 8-inch path around walks and fences with a weed eater, Clippy. It's easy to handle because it weighs just 2 pounds, and it costs just $29.95 at True Value Hardware stores. Better Homes and Garden can also help you grow a better garden with True Temper garden tools. Choose a cultivator, a trowel, or transplanter for just $1.19 each. See their 2-page ad in the April issue of Better Homes and Gardens, and shop your participating True Value Hardware store for lawn and garden care items. True Value, More than just a name, that's their way of doing business. And tell them Pat Summerall sent you.
I'm talking to Susan Handelman about Freedent, the great-tasting chewing gum that won't stick to most dental work. Mrs. Handelman, what do you like best about Freedent?
Best? Well, it's got to be the fact that Freedent doesn't stick to my caps. It's just amazing. It really does what they say.
What about Freedent's taste?
Oh, it's delicious. I wasn't expecting Freedent to taste as good as regular gum, but it really does. It's got a nice, refreshing taste. And you know something?
What's that?
Because I've been chewing Freedent, my whole family's tried it, and none of them have a sticking problem but me. Well, they just like the taste.
Would you recommend Freedent?
Oh, I sure would. Well, that's how I found out about it. My neighbor brought some over one day and told me about how great it was. I tried Freedent, it didn't stick, and I've liked the taste. So now I've been recommending it to everybody.
Well, thanks very much for your time, Mrs. Handelman. Feel free to chew Freedent in both spearmint and peppermint flavors. It won't stick to most dental work. Freedent from Wrigley's.
The sudden stab of recognition, the flash of insight that illuminates every detail of the hitherto hidden landscape. This is how a complex plan was revealed to Curly Peterson. The absence of a familiar routine gesture. This is how a truth was revealed to Maggie O'Neill. I understand that Curly was only sent up for 10 years. He writes to Maggie every day, and she returns his letters unopened. Our cast included Robert Dryden, Bryna Raeburn, Ian Martin, and William Griffis. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. Radio Mystery Theater was sponsored in part by Sign-Off, the sinus medicines. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
CBS News follows on WBBM Chicago. Why wait? Now there's no longer a reason to keep on waxing floors. You can have a genuine Armstrong Solarian no-wax floor for only 88 cents a square foot. That's right, only 88 cents a square foot for an Armstrong Solarian tile floor with the famous Mirabond wear surface. Mop it clean, rinse, it really does look just waxed. And you don't have to pay for installing a Solarian tile floor because it's so easy to install yourself. Just peel off the paper backing from the self-stick tiles, place, and press. You've got yourself a no-wax floor. This special 88-cent price is available for a limited time only. Big selection of colors and patterns while they last, so come in now to these participating Armstrong dealers. Certified floor covering, 15331 South Cicero in Oak Forest. Western Linoleum at 6108 West Cermak in Chicago. And all carpet tile stores, including St. Charles, Morris, and Plano.
CBS News. Troops from Morocco may have already arrived in Zaire to help the African nation fight invaders from Angola. This is Doug Poling reporting on the CBS radio network. The government of Zaire announced Thursday that Moroccan troops and equipment would be in their country by Friday. A government spokesman in Kinshasa said the Moroccans were dispatched after President Mobutu had a telephone conversation with King Hassan. One report from Rabat says between 600 and 800 Moroccan infantry soldiers are involved, and that the American and Moroccan ambassadors to Zaire held consultations earlier this week. Zaire has charged that the invaders of the copper-rich southern province are being aided by Cuban and Soviet military advisors. More news in a moment.
We'd like you to listen to our musical interpretation of the taste of some white wines people drink before dinner. Interesting, but just compare it to the unique taste of imported stock dry vermouth. Bright and lively, crisp and clear. Once you've tasted stock dry vermouth, you'll never listen to any other white wine before you dine. Distillery of Stock, Trieste, Italy.
From sea to shining sea, travel the waters of America on our next weekend special, Exploring America, 1977. CBS News correspondent Charles Carrot will be your guide as only he can. And you'll visit our lakes, rivers, bays, and shorelines in 28 special broadcasts. Listen for Exploring America, 1977, Saturday and Sunday, April 16th and 17th, on many of these CBS Radio network stations.
Some congressional Republicans may try to blame President Carter's tax rebate proposal and other economic stimulus plans for failure to check inflation. New rhetoric could come on the heels of Thursday's wholesale price figures for March, a jump of 1.1%. Economist Walter Heller does not see the president's proposals as being at fault.
It seems to me that the inflation we're getting now has very little to do with, say, Carter's tax rebate and stimulus program and the budget and so on. What we have at bottom here is what we economists call cost push inflation. It's the price wage spiral, and you're not going to affect that very much by what goes on in Washington about the budget and money policy and so forth.
Heller says another factor is food prices, and he said they have little to do with tax cuts or budgeting. Senate and House conferees have failed to untangle differences over water pollution and job proposals. This leaves President Carter's $4 billion public works employment bill stuck in Congress until after the Easter recess. A big manhunt is on in West Germany for the killer of West Germany's special prosecutor Siegfried Buback. A motorcyclist pulled alongside his limousine Thursday and sprayed it with machine gun fire. A big reward has been posted. Details from Bob McNamara in Bonn.
The reward is $85,000, and via television, West Germany's foreign minister has asked the country for help in finding the killers. Already, responsibility for the murder is being claimed by an anonymous caller who telephoned DPA, the West German news agency. A government spokesman says it was a male voice saying Prosecutor Buback was killed by a group that called itself the Ulrike Meinhof Action Committee. Ulrike Meinhof was one of the leaders of the West German urban guerrilla group known as the Baader-Meinhof Gang. Mrs. Meinhof committed suicide last year in her Stuttgart jail cell while on trial with several others on charges of carrying out a series of terrorist attacks in the early 1970s. It's also been learned that although Buback was entitled to round-the-clock protection by security officers, he actually used bodyguards only on special occasions. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Bonn.
In Israel, officials of the ruling Labor Party will meet Sunday to choose a new leader. Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin surprised his nation by pulling out of next month's election campaign, resigning because of a currency scandal. At London's Heathrow Airport Thursday night, British Airways fired over 1,200 striking maintenance engineers. They were part of a larger group staging a wildcat walkout, which has halted BA domestic and European flights. The dispute has stranded thousands of Easter holiday travelers. Now this.
If your child throws away the lunch you sent to school today, send wonder, kids eat it up. If he fiddles with the middle, then throws the bread away, send wonder, kids eat it up.
There are cheaper breads. They're not always as fresh and soft the way kids like bread.
When you send a lunch to school, make this your daily rule, send wonder, kids eat it up.
I wonder English muffins, too.
Right now, Goodyear is cutting the deck and dealing. It's your chance to get really good low prices on Goodyear custom power cushion polyglass tires. Here's the deal. Get 2 custom power cushion polyglass tires for $59 size A7813 and $1.73 federal excise tax per tire and old tires. Goodyear low prices on larger sizes too at Goodyear stores and participating dealers. Come on in. Goodyear. It's the only game in town.
AFL-CIO President George Meany has sent a letter to 10,000 union leaders asking their support in labor's battle to repeal so-called right-to-work laws. In Meany's words, the fight is going to be tougher than we thought. Meany also told the union leaders of his unhappiness with what he termed the scandalously low minimum wage proposals of President Carter. This is Doug Poling, CBS News.
News Radio 78, WBBM, Chicago.
Good evening, everyone. Back in Chicago now on News Radio 78, and this is Alan Bickley. Tonight's weather outlook, fair skies and a bit colder with a low of 33 degrees. Mostly sunny tomorrow with a high of 42, and then on Saturday, sunny and much warmer with a high around 60. It's 37 degrees at Midway Airport, 39 at the lakefront, 34 in the suburbs to the west. The humidity is 64%, and the wind is northeast at 16 miles per hour. In the news tonight, Governor Thompson has proposed new ethics legislation that would require candidates to report the source of all money raised. The legislation proposed today would also require all policymaking state employees to file detailed disclosures of their personal economic interests. Thompson admitted that his proposal steps back from a few ethics regulations that Governor Walker sought to impose and contains at least one substantial loophole for legislators. He said, though, the ethics proposal is tough enough that there may be trouble in getting it through the General Assembly. Several last-minute matters captured the attention of the Illinois legislature as it prepared to adjourn for the Easter recess. Alan Crane reports from Springfield.
The House and Senate closed their books for the holiday recess, with the impasse continuing over two issues that are before each chamber. The House is awaiting action by the Senate on one of its bills that appropriates $300,000 for needed House operations. Included is money to pay telephone bills and clerical salaries. The Senate, meanwhile, is holding up further action on that bill until the House approves a Senate measure that adds one member to the leadership team in the House and Senate. The extra leadership posts were part of the settlement finally worked out in the 6-week deadlock over the election of a Senate president earlier this year. House Republicans say the settlement that will cost the state an extra $24,000 a year in salaries for the newly created positions should not be paid for by taxpayers, since it was forced by Democrats in the Senate. House Majority Leader Michael Madigan says he's confident that a solution will be worked out on the matter when lawmakers return to the State House on April 20th. If not, says Madigan, there could be some unpaid bills.
If we decided to defer the payment of the telephone bill, we'd go ahead and make the payroll obligations. Or we may decide not to make payroll obligations and just cut everything off.
The House Operations account has enough money to meet its payroll through the 15th of April. After that, the future of paydays for secretaries and the payment of telephone and printing bills in the House is up to the Senate. Alan Crane, Springfield.
11:34 now. Report on municipal politics coming up in a moment.
Grab a piece of the sun, take it and run. All you'll need is the sunshine and JC. J-A-Y-C-E-E.
Grab a piece of the sun. JC suits with the fit that flatters the body beautiful. See the newest Fun in Sun bikinis and one-piece suits at Weebolt's, Madigan Brothers, and K. Campbell.
Grab a piece of the sun, take it and run. All you need is the sunshine and JC. J-A-Y-C-E-E.
Grab your piece of the sun at Weebolt's, Madigan Brothers, and K. Campbell. State Senator Harold Washington says the police kept too close an eye on him between 1969 and 1974, and the Democratic candidate for mayor of Chicago has produced documents to back up his charge. Bob Crawford has the story.
Washington accused the police department of wasting the taxpayers' money and valuable time by spying at public meetings and on innocent people. He gave reporters copies of index cards purporting to show that he had been a target of police surveillance. And he said it is clear that the recent controversy over spying has not brought such a practice to a halt.
If anyone thinks that the so-called scandal that broke has ceased these activities, he's being very, very Pollyannish. I simply don't believe that we have correct, adequate, and thorough control of our Chicago Police Department. And based on my lifetime experience in this city, until we have that kind of control, we are best be ever vigilant and suspicious, if not paranoid, on the subject of police intervention with our activities.
And the senator repeated his pledge that if he's elected mayor, he will fire Police Superintendent Rochford. This is Bob Crawford.
Alderman Roman Puchinski has made a fresh conflict of interest charge against Mayor Bilandic. Puchinski, a Democratic candidate for mayor, says Bilandic acted improperly when considering a city council proposal last December.
Why doesn't he tell the members of the city council that he killed the $600,000 appropriation for picking up rubbish from condominium, not because it would adversely affect single-family homes, but because he had an interest in it. Up until 1974, he represented Hoving, a private scavenger firm, and then he turned the business over to his law partner in his firm.
And Puchinski says aldermen have gone to jail for less. Bilandic was chairman of the City Council Finance Committee when the proposal came up before the council. The race for mayor of Chicago is not without its own brand of humor. Democratic candidate Anthony Robert Martin Trigona wants Mayor Bilandic to engage in public debate. But unable to get Bilandic to go along, Trigona took a large stuffed mouse to City Hall and debated the mouse. Martin Trigona was asked if he thought the display was in bad taste.
No, what's in bad taste is the fact that Bilandic refused to appear on Channel 11 before his opponents, that he refuses to be accountable to the news media, that he stonewalls all the neighborhood groups. That's what's in bad taste. The mouse is just a light touch to highlight what is a very serious and very sad issue. And the fact that we have a machine mandarin in City Hall right now who doesn't want to face the people.
Martin Trigona says he won the debate with the mouse, whom he dubbed Bilandic. The WBBM News Time is 11:38.
Pardon me, sir. I want to tell you about something new and exciting.
Go ahead.
But you got to promise you won't laugh.
I promise.
You sure? Now, lots of people laugh when I tell them.
Hey, I'm not going to laugh.
Good. I want to tell you about a great new soup. New Super Soup.
So that's funny.
New Super Soup is made with crispy, fresh vegetables and hearty pieces of steer beef or generous amounts of clams, and there are 8 different kinds.
You think that's funny?